the Nissan Silvia Autech version K's MFT. What is it? Late in the S14's life cycle, a limited edition model of the S14 was released using Nissan's tuning division, Autech. So where does Autech fit into the family of Nissan and Nismo? What's the purpose of a second in-house tuning division? Well, Autech is an odd one. Nismo or Nissan Motorsport is their performance division. Autech is their in-house tuning division. Sounds the same on first glance, but tuning or modifying doesn't necessarily mean performance. For example, the Nissan Stagea 260 RS Autech version is essentially the platform of an R33 GTR into a wagon form. The 40th anniversary R33 GTR Autech is a 4-door GTR, not necessarily more performance, but definitely modified. And the Variata Autech S15, a hardtop retractable to convertible S15 Silvia. Again, not better, it's actually slower. Not worse, just different. That's Autech. In the case of K's MFT Autech Silvia, it does mean performance, it does mean limited edition, and it does mean an all-round dressed up and upgraded S14. Only 272 units of this car were made, spread over only 2 paint codes. Looking at the brochure, 213 came in pearl white and only 59 in what we are looking at here, my favourite, deep fuchsia. It reminds me of Midnight Purple, in particular Midnight Purple 1 on the R33 Skyline, or really any of the Midnight Purples for that matter, with the R34 on screen. Other than that paint code, the thing that stands out the most, what we are looking at, the enormous spoiler. Unique kind of to this car, along with a clean body kit, the spoiler straight away reminds me of Tommykaira's R33 GTST Skyline, or the M25 to use the correct terminology, that we covered in my other video. And then looking at this later Nismo parts catalogue, we can see that the R33 in the GTST offered very similar Nismo options. That to me looks as good as the GTR. And then the year before, Autech came out with the K's MFT Silvia, the facelift period correct Nismo body kit for the S14, straight from the catalogue. Really a natural wide-bodied evolution of the 270R's styling, with flared guards, spoiler, the whole thing looks unique. So, where did the Nissan Silvia come from? 1961, the Prince Skyline is in its prime, the predecessor to the Nissan Skyline, and the Datsun Fairlady stole the 8th Tokyo Motor Show, the predecessor to the Silvia. Well, as Nissan describes it, and you can find this information in Nissan's Heritage Collection online, where Nissan states they restored this car to mint condition 6 years later. It was popular enough that they decided to make a fastback rear coupe-based model for the first Silvia, advertised as the Datsun 1600 and hesitantly also the Nissan Silvia with its new badge to show off. It came as a 1.6 litre 4-speed manual with just under 100 horsepower. It tested in the wind tunnel with a drag coefficient of 0.45. which was pretty decent for the time, maybe not so much in comparison to more modern JDMs with the R-Spec Mazda RX-7 in the wind tunnel here, but still forward planning and cool that they were thinking that way in the 1960s. I'd love to know what their mindset was with this badge. I don't know if it's coincidence, but it reminds me so much of the later model badge. And the slogan, crisp look, classic. The white walls look mint, love it. To own or even see one of these today would be incredible. So just over 500 were made for the whole life cycle of this car, which is hard to believe when you consider the popularity through the 90s of the Silvia and through today's market, where any half decently priced Silvia sells like hotcakes. But coming back to the K's MFT, it really did set the standard for styling in the years to come, especially when looking at the successor, the Nismo S15 Silvia. I mean, look at that. There's some good healthy competition amongst all these factory models. So Nismo, Autech, I thought they were different, and they are, but they're still both Nissan, so there is a lot of overlap when it comes to the performance side of Autech. I mean, there's even some Nismo models labelled with Autech, but we're getting too far down the rabbit hole. Subscribe button is there if you want to go further down the rabbit hole with me. So we can see the side skirts, rear bumper, front bumper, wheels, they're all different to the standard modelled S14, visually, but also enhancing its performance. It says the front bumper is different, but to me it just looks like the insert here is different where the indicator is. We can't forget the Autech's badge, just letting anyone who doesn't know what this car is, this is a factory modded Nissan. The interior trim is revised. It leaves a little grey to the extent in which it was changed, but what is specified is it picked up a Momo steering wheel, very similar to that of the WRX GC8s of the 90s, and the Mitsubishi Evo of the same time period. Red stitching, which is a nice pickup, also white gauges for the instrument cluster, and also some more white gauges showing oil pressure, voltage, and most notable, the boost gauge on the right, in place of the radio, as it was deleted for weight saving, which leads nicely into the performance upgrades. Both the standard S14 and the Autech version K's MFT are equipped with the SR20 DT engine. The standard version produces approximately 220 horsepower in the same late post-facelift model, and in the Autech upgraded version, 250 horsepower. Upgraded single turbo, larger injectors and a larger intercooler were the main changes that you can also find in the S15. Again, pretty in line with this car influencing the S15's development. The Autech version also included a higher flowing exhaust system to improve flow, performance and sound, multi-link suspension with firmer shocks and springs, a rear sway bar and a nice front strut bar we can see in this picture. The standard S14 had both 5-speed manual and 4-speed automatic, whereas the Autech version exclusively offered only the 5-speed manual, emphasizing its focus on performance. Is there any for sale? Not in Japan. Couldn't find any recent sales at all, actually. I did see this 270R S14, the Nismo sister car that sold for $80,000 US, build number 2, which is cool. I might cover the 270R soon in another video. There is one for sale outside of Japan, Miami, Florida. They want $50,000 US. Deep fuchsia, 62,000 miles, a fair bit of originality. The wheels are changed, which is a shame. I do love when really rare cars keep the things that make them unique to the car, regardless of whether it's better or worse. Tail lights look different, but the car looks really good. We won't spend too much time here. Don't know about the driver's seat. And there's the OEM Momo steering wheel. Stitching looks redone, not a big deal. White gauges, gear knob is changed. It looks familiar, but it's not the Autech gear knob. But, surprise surprise, I found the original Autech gear knob for sale in the Japanese auctions for 10,000 yen, or $70 US. Is it off this car? I don't know. Seems a bit of a coincidence. The engine bay with the Autech's SR20, and feedback's always appreciated. Thanks for watching. And then for a similar style video, if you like this one, what is the Tommykaira ZZ Coupe?